With Maria begins right now.
Hi there, ladies. Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Thanks so much for joining us. It is Wednesday, May 3rd. Here are your top stories, 6 a.m. on the East Coast. Healthcare reform hangs in the balance this morning. House Republicans struggling to secure enough votes to pass the current bill. We have the very latest as one key lawmaker says he is a no right now. Earnings set the tone on Wall Street this morning. Apple set to be a drag on the Dow, while fiscal second quarter profit beat expectations. Revenue was below expectations. The stock down 1.5% as the company is also reporting an unexpected decline in the sales of the iPhone. Broader markets look like this morning. Take a look at futures under the weight of Apple shares. Dow Industrial's down about 19 points. Fractional move. We're getting a first look at the jobs market this morning, leading up to Friday's government report. The ADP report is due out at 8:15 a.m. Eastern. We are all on it. Expectations call for 175,000 private sector jobs added to the economy last month. Investors also waiting on the Federal Reserve, where it'll get a decision after a two-day meeting today. No change is expected this morning from the Fed. In Europe, markets are under pressure. Take a look at the indices throughout the Eurozone this morning. The FT 100 down 1/3%, as is the CAC 40 in Paris. The DAX index also fractionally lower. And in Asia overnight, most of the major markets were closed for the holidays, but the Shanghai Composite edging lower in China, down 1/4%. Breaking news overnight. 2 police officers shot in Chicago. Authorities say they were ambushed. 3 people are being held for questioning. The city's police superintendent addressed the fundamental issues behind the shooting.
This just is another example of how dangerous this job is. And I think people take it for granted that when police officers come to work every day, they put their lives on the line. And we have to do something about this gun violence in this city.
The very latest on the investigation coming up this morning. American Airlines looks to squeeze more seats on some flights, and that means cutting back on legroom even more. Plus, Beyonce coming to your coffee table. She's releasing a special edition box set with a 600-page book, and it comes with a hefty price tag. All those stories coming up this morning, and joining me to talk all about it this morning, Fox Business Network's Dagan McDowell, Recon Capital Chief Investment Officer and Horizons ETF Manager, Kevin Kelly, and Independent Women's Voice CEO and President Heather Higgins with us. Great to see you.
Nice to be here.
Good morning.
Great to see everybody. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Great show yesterday.
You were missed, but you were kicking all sorts of backside out in California.
It was good. Hearing Stephen Mnuchin go through the issues on Fannie and Freddie yesterday, as well as the economy and this tax plan, was quite interesting.
Yeah, huge. I mean, Fannie and Freddie, I mean, it's been known as Fannygate. That's been well talked about in smaller circles. Now it's becoming a broader issue. Just see what the previous administration did with the money, especially to move money around in the healthcare debate.
And he admitted it. He said, yes, President Obama did use money from all agencies, including the government-sponsored entities, and used that money for Obamacare. Yeah. And, of course, today we're talking more about the spending bill. Your thoughts?
Oh, well, the spending bill is mixed. Well, the Republicans would like to call it a win. The Democrats have done a much better job of calling it a win. Part of the reason it's a win for the Democrats is that there were all these things that were very clearly things that Republicans would have wanted that are just nowhere to be seen in the thing. And the problem that you've got is this is the sort of spending bill that you would have had if Obama were president, and Republicans would have reluctantly felt that they had to go along with. Their base does not understand how you have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and you're getting a spending bill that looks like a Democrat spending bill.
It is a head-scratcher, actually. I'm going to put that question this morning to the Office of Management and Budget Director, Mick Mulvaney, joining us this morning at the top of 8 a.m. Also, the Chairman and CEO of Revolution, author of Third Wave, and former co-founder and CEO of AOL. Steve Case is in the studio this morning with us. Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano is here, along with Tennessee Congresswoman Diane Black joining us. Then the CEO of GoDaddy.com, Blake Irving, with us as well. Big day today, of course, on technology, so we're going to take a look at all of that. All coming up this morning. We kick it off right now with our top story. Obstacles to the GOP's efforts to overhaul the nation's health care system. Republicans on the Hill are scrambling this morning to find the votes to repeal and replace Obamacare. After an influential moderate Michigan Republican yesterday, Congressman Fred Upton, came out against the GOP plan, citing pre-existing conditions. Watch.
I'm not at all comfortable with removing that protection. I've supported the practice of not allowing pre-existing illnesses to be discriminated against from the very get-go. This amendment torpedoes that, and I told the leadership I cannot support this bill with this provision in it.
Speaking in the White House Rose Garden, President Trump put pressure on Republicans to act. Listen.
How's health care coming, folks? How's it doing? All right, we're moving along. I think it's time now, right? Right? They know it's time.
Republican leaders can only afford to lose 22 votes and still pass this bill. At least 20 lawmakers have said publicly that they plan to vote no, with even more saying that they're undecided. Joining us right now to weigh in is family and emergency medical doctor, City MD Director, Dr. Jeanette Neshwat. Dr. Jeanette Neshwat, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Your thoughts on pre-existing conditions as the battle continues this morning?
So this is a big game changer. Lots of negotiations going on, and it's moving in the right direction, which I'm very excited about, and patients should be very happy about that as well. As far as with pre-existing conditions, look, President Trump promised that it would be covered in the new bill, and rightfully so. You can't control if you're born with one kidney or a congenital bone disorder, but on the other hand, I do think patients should be held accountable for their actions. For example, if you smoke, if you drink, if you're obese, if you're overweight, and you're not taking care of yourself due to willful neglect, that's another situation that needs to be looked at. But overall, pre-existing conditions, that's just the card that you're dealt with. If you're born with a medical condition, we've got to help each other out. We've got to serve, humanity and cover those people who are already covered. We can't just discontinue that.
The central issue is not with the Republicans making changes to this bill, is not whether you will be covered if you have a pre-existing condition. It's who's going to pay for it. That's the central issue. Is it going to be embedded in the health insurance and the cost of everyone and in the premiums, or will it be handled through high-risk pools? I just wonder, in the latest version of this health care bill, the centrists don't like it. It keeps the regulations. Guaranteed issue and community rating are the issues, but the states can apply for a federal waiver if they pursue other measures, and the states can receive a waiver if they avail themselves of the bill's $100 billion fund to set up for high-risk pools. This is in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. It's just how they handle it. And I swear that Jimmy Kimmel going on late-night TV and talking about his infant son with a congenital heart defect is going to move some of these centrist Republicans. It's a very sad story, but it has nothing to do with what's going on in Washington.
I was going to say, Dagan, you asked who's going to pay for all these pre-existing conditions. Well, thanks to the MacArthur amendments, they're going to allow states to have more flexibility with the essential health benefits, which is a very smart move, because remember, what are the essential health benefits? The 10 of them: maternity care, pediatric care, lab services, trips to the ER, trips to your doctor's offices. Well, guess what? A 22-year-old male college athlete doesn't need maternity care. So that's going to save money and hopefully reduce costs and allow everyone to have those pre-existing.
Well, I can tell you who's going to pay, and it's the overall consumers. If we look at the most recent economic reports, we can see that healthcare costs are rising precipitously year over year. This latest read gave us 17.3% of consumer spending is on healthcare. So overall, the entire country is going to pay for it, and it keeps coming up. And that's from a 13.5% reading back in 2001.
Well, all I can tell you is, I've been a doctor and I've gone through medical training and medical residency for 15 years. All I want to do is take good care of my patients, but it's hard to do because of the financial burden that's put on them and the inflammatory administrative, constraints imposed upon us by the government, by Washington, and by insurance companies.
One of the country's largest insurers, Aetna, says it's going to scale back its participation in the Affordable Care Act exchanges again. They're going to scale back in 2018. They're citing this projected losses. These insurance companies are losing money left and right. The decision coming 3 months after Humana announced it was withdrawing completely from the exchanges. Part of it is insurers weighing uncertainty out of Washington. Why would an insurance, if it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions, why would an insurer, cover knowing that the person has this pre-existing condition? In other words, if it's not involved, what happens to the insurance industry?
Well, the reality is that pre-existing conditions would be totally covered under this bill. They are presently. Dagan is absolutely right. Do you want this sort of hidden in rising premiums for the individual market? Do you want states to be spreading the costs out a little bit more using a high-risk pool, which seems to be fairer to a lot of people, so you don't have these high premiums for people? This is part of the challenge and part of the failure of the way that Obamacare was architected. It's a tiny percentage of the population that has trouble getting covered because of pre-existing conditions, and this would actually cover them. But can we talk the politics for just a minute?
Yeah.
The reality that's going on is you've got people positioning themselves for their Senate runs, as in Michigan with Fred Upton, trying to look like they're the person who is tough on this, even though the bill already addresses this. And the real challenge that you've got is that Congress itself isn't covered by Obamacare. They got an exemption from the Obama administration in 2013. They're technically on it, but they get subsidies that would be illegal for anybody else. They get to remove much of their staff. And if Trump really wanted leverage, what he would do was he would announce that his administration was undoing that Office of Personnel Management ruling, and suddenly you would see that they would be singing a very different tune if it was their premiums unsubsidized that were so high.
I just want to add,
That's a great point. That's a great point.
4% of the population under the age of 65 would qualify under pre-existing conditions. And in the original pre-existing condition insurance plan under Obamacare, before the health care overhaul was completely rolled out, a little more than 100,000 people applied for that pre-existing conditions insurance plan. So it's roughly 100,000 people that we're talking about. So do you embed the cost in the premiums and the cost of health insurance for everybody, or do you get the taxpayers to fund it through these high-risk pools at the state level, if the states choose to do that?
But hopefully they will, because right now the current system is broken, it's suffocating, it's drowning, and what's happening now is the exact opposite to the correct solution in regards to serving our patients in this country. And patients want control over their bodies, they want control over their health care decisions, and they're delaying seeking medical care, which results in worse outcomes. Yeah. Patients are going to urgent care centers instead of the emergency room for severe life-threatening illnesses. I had a patient recently coming in with stroke-like symptoms. She had slurred speech and facial drooping and left-sided body weakness, and I said, look, I'm going to send you over to the hospital. We need to do a workup. The first thing out of her mouth was, doctor, how much is that going to cost? Of course. And that just broke my heart. So, you know, we definitely have to make some changes, because it's life-changing for many people right now.
Jeanette, thank you so much for weighing in. Really important insights from you. We appreciate it, Jeanette. Neshwat, Dr. Neshwat there. Coming up, 2 officers